Okay, Boker Tov, everyone. Today is the 21st day of the month of Av. And we continue in our Sefer Eshpoich Lefanov Sichi. And we're in the 7th chapter, page Kuf Yud Daled. We're discussing the issue whether you have to do HISBODEDUS only in the field, far away from civilization, or can you do it at your home? And we already discussed the difference that if you want to have total nullification before Hashem, then the place to do it is in the fields, dark at night, where nobody's around. But if you want to be able to have presence of mind and be able to talk to Hashem and feel a relationship with Hashem and all those things, that could be even in your room. Okay, so now we continue the following. B'chaye Moran, in the Sefer Chaim Kosov, he writes, Reb Shimon, who's Reb Shimon? Misham Shosho Rabbeinu Talmid Rishon, was an attendant of Rabbi Nachman and his first student, Sipar. He tells the following story. Shapam Nosa im Rabbeinu derech Kfar Osyatin. One time he traveled to Rebbe through a village called Osyatin. Shesham Dar Rabbeinu La'acher Nisuov. That's where the Rebbe lived after he got married. V'nosu derech hasados. They were going through the fields. Now, quote, Rabbeinu Zal mizgagea ma'od. And the Rebbe was very yearning and longing. From Merkama he haya tov lefanai bekan. He said, how good it is before me, or here. Ki b'chol psiu psia, because in each and every step, Hirgashti tam Gan Eden. I feel the taste of Gan Eden. Gam od pam achas siper Rabbeinu b'fanai. One time, another time, the Rebbe said before me, Shebeyosa b'meinu urav, when he was in his youth, keshahayot mispoded be'eza mokom b'yar v'sada, when he would be have HISBODEDUS in any forest or in any field, keshachazer misham, when he come back from that time in the field, it was like he came to a brand new world. He felt like when he came back to civilization, it's a totally different world. The world didn't look at all like it looked before. Whatever spiritual heights he grew from, that's how he perceived the world. Remember, the world is a world of falseness. So you've got to find the truth in the world. So the closer you get to Hashem, the more you see what the truth of the world is. And another sefer, he brings something in a way that's appropriate for everybody. A person who gets used to every day doing HISBODEDUS, the emes in truth, and he speaks before Hashem properly, bifrat im zoicha lihispoded besodas bi'ar, especially if he merits to do HISBODEDUS in the fields and in the forests. As a margish b'chol psiu psia, you can feel with each and every one of your feet, even with or without nice, good Adidas shoes. Sheposei Hashem tam Gan Eden. Again, he tastes the taste of Gan Eden. And when he comes back, the whole world is new to him. It's like it's a totally different world. Rav Nosson, Rabbi Nosson, was the time he was in the city of Brod and the city of Lemberg. And he taught the 52nd teaching to the masses. And after that, he writes, quote, and I taught them the truth. That the Rebbe warned the people who are young to express their speech freely before Hashem daily, especially at night, and alone. Until he merits to be incorporated in the source of all reality and to elevate the entire world that depends on him to be incorporated in that reality. In other words, when a person gets himself totally enveloped in Hashem's reality, well, what's going to happen to the world that he engages with? What happens to the cup of coffee? That also gets incorporated into God's world. That's the point. It's not just for you, it's for the entire world. If you feel this tremendous connection to Hashem and the complete beetle to Hashem, then whatever you deal with, you will infuse that, because the world depends on what you define it as. So if you define this cup of coffee as, wow, what a way to help my lusts reach its perfection, then you've denigrated it. You say, wow, this is another way of me recognizing Hashem. The sparks of Hashem. Hashem's sparks are inside here. And I'm elevating these sparks. I made a bracha. People said amen, and every sip I'm taking, that becomes incorporated in God's reality. And I'm crying out for all the days in the past and all the years in the past. I didn't merit to do this because of whatever obstructions there were. But I'm happy with the little bit that I'm able to achieve. Remember, Rabbi Nosson wasn't born a Breslover. He became a student of Rabbi Nachman. So how many years was he not doing this? And for the same for us. It'll come to the point when we do this, we'll cry over the fact all these years we didn't do it. But we'll be happy with what we have, that little bit that we have. Continuing, and also what you merit to talk to Hashem in the daytime, not under ideal conditions, is still very precious to Hashem. Not everybody merits to fulfill everything into the ultimate perfection. Fortunate is the person who does HISBODEDUS even in the day. But but much, much more fortunate if you do it at night in the forest until you merit to be incorporated in Hashem. Okay. I'm not sure what that stands for. In a letter he writes, therefore you have to be misboded every day. Yosef Tov, and even better, better to speak to Hashem between the grasses and the flowers. If you can't at least find a place in your house. Okay, in the Sichas Haran he adds, and he writes, it's very good for us to have his own designated room that he can engage in service of Hashem and Torah and davening, and especially with HISBODEDUS and speak to Hashem. Even just sitting in a room that's designated for this, doing nothing, just sitting there. Gamza Tomo, that's also very good. And what if you don't have a special room? Actually, you can still talk privately between you and Hashem, and he gives us 3 solutions. And here's the point we said in the introductions. Even if you're amongst people, you can do this. Yeah. If you have to do this. How? Aleph. Under your talus is a private room. When you draw the talus over your eyes, it's a private room. Number 2. Also under the covers when you're in bed. Flip the covers over your head. David, what did David HaMelech say? I speak every night on my bed. Gimel, third is solution. You could be sitting by a book. They're going to think he's learning. But he keeps speaking to Hashem then. Because your head's in the book. And he concludes, which way are we going? This way. And there's all kinds of other tricks for somebody who really wants to, if you really want to have HISBODEDUS, the thing that's better than everything else, Sheyesod Sharash HaKedusha, that is the source of all Kedusha and Tar and Tshuva. But again, a designated room is better. Okay. B'divrei Rabbeinu Mavor, from the words of the Rebbe, it's clear. Sheish inyan chashuv v'mashem yachli makom. It's a very important idea, even to just designate a place. B'kei lasak shem of Hashem, to engage in service Hashem. Yichud hamakom kovaspa kedusha meisayeyas l'chol davar shebedusha naso. A room that's designated for holiness. The room itself assists for any holy endeavor that you want. In kol davar shemiyachid, it's like anything you designate for a mitzvah, chol of kedusha. Kedusha comes upon it. Ha'inyan shel yichud hamakom, and the concept of unifying with Hashem, hamasayeh lekavalas hatfilah, that helps for prayer. It's explained in the Sefer, the Tzlach, in the Gemara Brachas. Kol hakovei hamakom l'tfilah, so anyone has a set place for his prayers, Elokei Avram ba'aso, the God of Avram helps him. And the Tzlach explains, what does it mean? Shekedushas hamakom mesayeh so shetekabel tfilah. So the holiness of the place assists the person that his prayers are accepted. And so it says in the Sefer Yaris Dvash, the same thing. Aval ikra HISBODEDUS, but the main HISBODEDUS, a yeshiva of Hashem, is sitting before Hashem, ubakashas parav, and seeking his face, ushvichas alei v'diburei tefillah Hashem, and pouring his heart out in words of prayer to Hashem. U'lechein heichan u'beisas Hashem, so for any place where it's possible, you can't fulfill this tremendous advice. Now, next little subtopic. What are the differences and the virtues of secluding in the house or in the field? So, those people who accustom themselves to only have HISBODEDUS in the fields, they find it very hard to do HISBODEDUS in a room. A closed room. You only have a very small amount of space. Remember, in those days, they didn't have rooms like this. This was a house. Oh. This room was a house, maybe more. Two houses. Okay, so a room was like mamish. Yeah. You know, when the Gemara talks about a sukkah being 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. Okay, this squared. Yeah. This table, like till the first leaf. Yeah. No, till the first. Yeah. That's a sukkah. Yeah, and even that's right. It's better. It's even bigger than a sukkah. This is a big sukkah. Just this little square. Yeah. It's a big sukkah. So for some people, they'll be claustrophobic in such a place. Okay, they can't do it. Right? They don't see the heavens. They don't see Haharim Vagvos, the mountains, the hills. It's called Veshamayim. They don't see the stars. Vesharma is the other acts of creation. Because many times it's the power to separate a person from the civilization where people are just running after vanities. Okay, so for some people who daven only in the fields, they can't daven in a room. In the fields, you find yourself next to God's handiworks. More than what people make. It helps you connect to Hashem. As the Rambam says, if you want to love Hashem, what's the best way to love Hashem? When you reflect on the acts of creation, it arouses you love Hashem. And that's what the Kli Yakar writes. That's why Moshe would do HISBODEDUS in the desert as he was watching the sheep, as we talked about in an earlier class.
I was going to just say that, not just in the forest. He did it in the desert there, in the middle of, there was no trees, no nothing. Just
there's something awesome about that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Go to certain places, very awesome places.
Absolutely, yes.
When we were at Joshua Tree, that's a desert, but the boulders, this, that.
We're going to do that next week.
What?
Banff is gorgeous.
Well, we'll see. We'll send you a report. We'll send you a report. We also find in the earlier rabbis, that's why the prophets would go into the deserts and into the caves because of the works of Hashem. Because anything that people make, the thoughts of them who make it, control him, free him, and disturb the Dveikus Hashem. When you see these big buildings, you don't feel Hashem. You don't feel Hashem. It disrupts your feelings of closeness to Hashem. On the other hand, the cheder in the room, HISBODEDUS, but you can't have time to concentrate for a long time in a room where there's no distractions. There's nothing external to look at. Remember, in those days, they didn't fill the walls with pictures and this and that. It's just a room with some wood. That's it. Nothing there. You go to any room in your house, I know how you can concentrate. Anybody. So many pictures. They're beautiful. They look beautiful. But you can't concentrate in such a room. You get distracted. You have to have a room with no pictures. No nothing. Just a room. You're only looking at Hashem. And you look inside yourself. That's the way our stimuli stimulate. So if there's no stimuli, then the only stimulus can be Hashem. That's what that special room is. Even a room full of svarim. You take a look at the svarim, which it's a distraction. So it's not easy. If you get used to doing Hispodedus only in a room, you also get a great portion. That's the concentration. Habehirus, the clarity. If they me on a yoshe before who I'm sitting, so where am I found? It's not easy to get distracted when you're in those situations. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing to distract you except your thoughts. And you got to do things to clean your mind from your thoughts. That's not easy. You got to clean that out. But you can see how many distractions there are externally and internally. Let's first deal with the externals. Therefore, even though a person who's used to going out to the field all the time, should also get used to being indoors. A closed place. Because the reality is, even though someone merits to have these photos in the field at night, sometimes there's days you just can't do it. It's freezing cold, whatever. Even though you struggle, if you can't get used to also doing photos in a room, you talk about it's very possible. If you can't do these photos in the field, well, you can't say something. You're not going to do it at all because I can't do it in the field. We're not doing it tonight. He's going to feel there's no energy in a room. So the room constrains him. So close up his thoughts. So therefore, and what do you call it? And historically, evidence shows us. People are used to they can only do Hispodedus outside the city. If they're not able to go out at any time, so it's very hard to do indoors. Some don't even do it at all. So now, by the arrow. So what's the conclusion? Fortunate is the one who can go out and pour his heart out in the fields at night alone. That is the ultimate perfection. But it's obvious and clear. Anyone who can't go out every night, Yeda should know that if you have Hispodedus in a room in your house that's designated for this, it's also very precious for Hashem. But don't denigrate to say, don't say it doesn't help very much. You should know. Hashem will accept his prayers with love, mercy, and desire. Ubefrat, and especially, if you merit to live in Eretz Yisrael. And this is the reason why you should all at least retire in Eretz Yisrael. Because, it's also just as nice as other parts of the world, if not nicer. Why? Why is it so important, Eretz Yisrael? Shekain, Shamati, Rav Levi Yitzchak, Hashem. Heard from Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender, in the name of Rabbi Avram, the son of Rabbi Nachman. Shemeretz Yisrael, Mibdei Kedushas Eretz Yisrael, because of its holiness. Inyan Yitzia Chutz Yishuv Eina Muchrach Malchus Eretz. You don't have, it's not as vital to go out of civilization in Eretz Yisrael as it is in Chutz Eretz. Wow. Means you're gonna, because the land itself is holy. Even in a room, it's holy. Val Kapanim, anyway, even though we've set out good, the virtues are to go outside the city. But if you can't go out, at least try once a week to go out to the fields. At least once a week. To go out of civilization, to merit the goal for why we were created, which is Bitol and Dvekas Hashem. Okay, to finish, to conclude this chapter, we have to clarify. Based on all the sources we just brought you today, yesterday, before. One who merits to go out into the fields and to taste the taste of Gan Eden that's so wondrous that nothing compares to it. Yavin Shabbat will truly understand. That's what the Rebbe always meant. This essay is not meant to weaken you and to discourage you. If you really want to nullify yourself, you need this kind of avoda in the fields. But you know, if you can't do it, you should not allow yourself to be discouraged a drop. To not do that advice of HISBODEDUS. Okay, now he adds one more point. How about, so it's clear. So we got to, the best thing at least is find yourself a room in your house. So now it's going to be not so easy because you have to talk to your wives about this. And tell your wife, I want a room in the house that's got nothing in it. Now, wait a minute, let's think about this. This could be a storage room. You know, it could be, you know, certain places that, whatever, you know, some houses have these like little spaces. You don't need a large space, whatever. In a condo, I don't know how easy this is, again, but try your best. Try your best to find a spot where you can do HISBODEDUS, okay? And once a week, at least in the summer, you know, or, you know, just go out where nobody is.
At night, Rabbi, you get arrested if you're alone on a field. I'm telling you, you can't
Well, it
do
doesn't have
that
to be
around here.
You can do it.
In the daytime, maybe, but at night to be alone on a field, then you're gonna get arrested. They're gonna come and say, "What are you doing here?"
I'm praying.
Yeah, well, if they
You know what, the
understand, that's fine.
police aren't even there.
I hope so. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
You
where
try.
would you go anyway?
Well, there's lots of
Yeah, the
places.
schools, that is the front.
Yeah, in the park here.
School parks, yeah.
What?
There's a park here, you can go.
In the park, you're not alone. There's too much noise, airplanes, cars, honking, yes.
Well, not at 2:00 in the morning.
2:00 in the morning. I'm telling you.
And unfortunately, Rabbi, there's an actual sign there. It's after 11 p.m. It's for the
Okay,
teenagers.
come on, Ray.
Anyway,
They don't want any
that
drug.
was okay then, but
They don't want
now,
any drug deals.
If use my backyard.
See, I'm praying to God to stop the COVID. You know, how many police are out at 1:00 in the morning? They're only out if you're disturbing people.
As long as you have your mask on, Rabbi.
Anyway, but you have to try to figure out a solution.
yes.
That's all I'm saying. You have to, the best you can. Because during the day, there's always people around. But yeah, you have to, you know, that's,
But Rabbi, if you're sitting in a room and you don't put the light on, like if it's dark, probably it could be the same thing too. Right?
okay, that would not be a bad idea. That's a good solution.
Literally just pull all the blinds down.
Okay,
and just-
go into a room, even if you can't take down the pictures, and go at night and turn the lights
So
on
the lights, oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
and pull down the shades.
Yeah, yeah, no
And
disturbance.
maybe even put a mask over your eyes.
Probably.
No,
yes.
if
Just
you're
over your
dark,
eyes.
no.
The airline ones. Well,
Is
that's-
that-
that's-
Then you don't see anything,
A dark room, yeah.
but there are, you have to find, there's, the problem is the world is too industrialized. It's
Yes,
getting
yes.
harder and harder.
Phone ringing, this too.
That's why, I want to make Aliyah. I want to go to a moshav, but then I can just go out into the
Yeah,
fields,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that'll,
And not so easy now in Israel either. Too many.
if you go and get
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
when we
Yeah.
went on our missions and we went to the
Yes, they are.
places that where people,
Yeah.
we went to the village of Itamar, where the guy has a little complex on top of a mountain, and it's just, and they've developed it, and it's just a few Jewish families there, and they have a nice little wooden shul that faces over the horizon, whatever, right at the edge,
Nice and quiet, beautiful.
and that's a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Rabbi, when you are in Aliyah, the whole shul is doing that.
So if I leave, then the whole
So we
shul
have
should
to
leave.
find a new moshav, so that we all can live
We
there.
all move that place.
So we need people to engage in that, the
Yes,
problem in Eretz Yisrael is you gotta be careful not to
Yeah.
get your pants stolen from unscrupulous people.
Oh,
There's a tremendous amount of
Yeah.
unscrupulous people there. So you can't trust anybody, just anybody. You
very
gotta,
unfortunate.
but anyway, so that means Hashem.
Rabbi, we have to plan now.
Okay. Well, you were there for 2 months. What did you do?
You tell me, we'll go and look for something.
Okay, fine. Anyway, let's go. Let's finish it off. Now, there's one more thing. Comes out, Nimsa Shekirei Tzadikim. What about the burial grounds of Tzadikim, the graves of Tzadikim? Shesham Ashros Ashchina, that's where the Shechina rests. Umakam HaMasugol Ma'od Lispodus Lagil Madrigas Beetle. It's a very good place to do HISBODEDUS and to reach a level of Beetle. The foolishness of the world has no grasp in a cemetery. Bavading is so it's very good. So you can go to cemetery now.
Yeah.
Go to cemetery. Go to Tzaddik's grave. You have tzaddikim here. Meidach, on the other hand, but there could be some places, not here, but places that they learn and daven. And you can't get the best focus. In addition, also you have the grass in the cemetery. That also, he said, is a very good thing because the malachim caused the grass to grow in the cemetery. So, and it's also, usually cemeteries are very beautiful places. So, Shamati Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, again from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bender, Shabein Anshe Rabbeinu Be'uman, amongst the people of Rabbeinu in Uman, Hashanagu Kach, that's what they did, Va'asku B'Soros B'Sera Kodesh, they were disposed by the Rebbe's grave. And there'd be those who went out into the field that was outside the city. Rabbi Matisyahu Cohen, also B'Soros B'Sera Rabbeinu, he names a Matisyahu Cohen who would do dispose right at the oil of the Rebbe. But he also sometimes would go out to the fields, as I heard from people in Uman who went with him together. And also Rabbi Shmuel Horovitz, he would pray at the Tzion many hours. As he said, I have fields in Eretz Yisrael, but I don't have the Rebbe's kever in Uman. And others would go out into the fields at night to have HISBODEDUS at night. So between everybody, there'd be those who were working, and there were those who really, even in the cold, remember, Uman could get pretty cold in the winter. They'd go out, no matter how cold it was, and they brave the cold and go out over there and do over there. Okay. Rabbi Avram, Rabbi Nachman, they asked about the conduct of Rabbi Nachman's son. People said, no, it's hard to follow him. We don't know what he did when he was by the grave. It was hard to follow him. Anyway, so it's not 100% Masar in this. But anyway, so what do you have? Bottom line, best is out in the fields at night. Second, a room by yourself. Go to a tzaddik's grave is an amazing place at a time when it's very quiet. And that's our homework as we leave you for the next week. To by Rosh Chodesh Elul, find the time, place, spot, and every day, 15 minutes, where you're going to do this. Okay, Yeshua, have a good Erev Shabbos, everybody. We'll see you the whole Shabbos.
Rabbi, when you go like, we just like top watching.